Okay, I'm going to get started by just welcoming you guys to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is what we refer to as our Pali Canon English study group, which I'll explain to you guys what this is a little bit later. We start each one of our classes with meditation, so I'll guide you guys in a meditation session. The Buddha figured out how to get to this enlightened mental state where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience any discontent feelings. There's no longer any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. You can actually train your mind to get to the point where you don't experience these things anymore. Oftentimes people think it's the outside world that's causing these inner feelings, but it's actually being caused by what's inside one's own mind, and that can all be transformed through training of the mind. So meditation is part of that training, but there's other aspects to the training as well. So that's why after our meditation, I'll share with you guys some information about the teachings of the Buddha. If you'd like to join for meditation, the way that we start is with some chanting to ease the mind into the meditation. You can see these chants over there on the laminated sheet. Oftentimes students like to join in. So if you'd like to join into the meditation and the chanting, you're welcome to help yourself to a chanting sheet over there. And for those of you guys that are online, that you can find these chants at buddhadailywisdom.com. Click on free books and then just scroll down towards the bottom and you'll see the chanting sheets there. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to help them commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, the students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is how they were able to remember the teachings. So chanting was originally used as a learning device or as a learning tool. So you can understand through the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer or anything like that. This is today to help ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. Or during the lifetime of the Buddha, it was used as a learning tool or as a learning device. And then if you read the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha actually created these chants, because he wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. This would be ego or arrogance if someone did this. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from the anger, sadness, frustration, and all those other discontent feelings to the peace and joy that is the enlightened mental state, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I suspect that these chants actually came from his students either during his life or after his death. If you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to, because you're going to notice more benefit as you ease into the meditation. It's going to kind of help prepare the mind for the meditation, and it'll help bring awareness of mind and awareness of breath. Once we're in the meditation, you're going to hear me providing you some guidance where I'm going to be essentially instructing you and teaching you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're all meditating at the same time. Everyone here at the temple and everyone online, we're just all going to be meditating at the same time. Now, that period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear cars go by, dogs barking, birds chirping. Someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal, that you live in an impermanent world and things are constantly changing, that the world around you is not permanent. And if you are in meditation with a craving for permanence, when you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be frustrated or annoyed. But you need to be able to understand you're in a world that is impermanent, that you're not going to be able to be in an environment that's permanent. So you won't hear permanent quietness or experience permanent quietness during the meditation. You're going to hear certain sounds, but you can just rest at ease and be peaceful in understanding those sounds are arising, they're changing, and then they're fading away. Then after that, we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And that's where I'll start today's class, helping you to understand what the Pali Canon and English study group is. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like assembling a tool belt, that you would use these different tools at different times during your journey to enlightenment, because these positions are beneficial for different reasons. But oftentimes people are learning in the seated position. So I'll share details on the seated position with you to help you understand how to maybe find something that's even more comfortable than what you're already experiencing, where sometimes when people are learning, they would like to have some guidance on this. So understand understand that the things that I share with you are just things for you to consider, things for you to think about and maybe choose to use or not. You can sit however you like. There's not just one way to actually sit. So you could sit on the floor, you could sit in a chair, maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair, any way that you would like to sit, you're welcome to sit that way. What I'm going to share with you are just recommendations or suggestions. That if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften the seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly, where if you had them real tight, it could impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Sometimes people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets the hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it the same way, because we live in an impermanent world, and not everybody's going to do things the same way. That's normal. So there's other options here. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people just rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can find whatever's comfortable for you. The same thing's true for anybody who's sitting in a chair or on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Sometimes people put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed, so that's an option for you too. And then your hands and arms can just go wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back. It'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, because meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you would like the mind to be attentive and alert for this training. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic, but if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because not only will it keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, but it'll make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So I'm going to do the chanting to ease into the meditation, then I'll come in with guidance. You are welcome to join in the chanting if you like. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Wat Tung Mahakewanang Apiwateyami Sawakato Mahakewata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakewato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokawitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manu Sarang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะเกวาพุทธังมหาเกวันนังอภิวาเตมิ สวากขาโตเอมาเกวัตตาดัมโมดามังนามาสามิสุปฏิปันโนเอมาเกวัตโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังปุตโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to everyone. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone online as well who's joining. As I was mentioning, today is our Pali Canon and English Study Group, which is a program that students oftentimes come into after they've already had a foundation in the path to enlightenment, understanding all the foundational teachings. And I know many of you guys probably haven't done that, and that's okay. You'll actually still learn plenty today, but just understand that this particular program isn't where somebody will typically start off their journey to enlightenment. There's certain foundational teachings that students would need to really understand as they're making their way into a program like this, where it's kind of filling in this framework for you. We have a program on Sunday and Wednesday called the Group Learning Program, where each Sunday I go chapter by chapter in this book, helping students to be able to understand the foundational teachings of the Buddha. And you can actually get all of these things at no cost. You can download this book for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can get it on Amazon. Essentially, what the Buddha did is he was teaching you how to train your mind to get to this enlightened mental state. And there's certain teachings that you need to be able to learn and understand as you're making your way on this journey. It's not just meditating that's going to get you to enlightenment. Oftentimes people think that the Buddha sat under a tree, he meditated and instantly got to enlightenment, and this isn't actually true. Oftentimes what you see in the world today is you might see rites and rituals, ceremonies, worship and prayer and things like this, but none of these are actually from the Buddha. He didn't teach any of those kinds of things. Everything he taught you was to train your mind. There are certain pollutions that he discovered in the mind, and he discovered the tools and techniques of how to eliminate these out of the mind. So when you apply these tools and techniques, and they will uproot these pollutions out of your mind, this is where you start seeing more and more peace, more and more joy coming into the mind. So the teachings of the Buddha aren't about believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. It's about learning, growing, and developing in this life so you can get to peace and joy in this life. And you'll be able to see that your mind is doing this because as you're slowly learning and growing and developing on the path, you'll see improvements to the condition of your mind in your life. Because in situations where you're once angry or sad or frustrated or any other discontent feeling, and when you're experiencing those same situations and you can see that your mind is quite peaceful and joyful in those situations, you'll know it's these teachings that are actually helping you and guiding you in this path and in this journey. So if you're just starting out on the path, I would recommend that you attend our classes on Sunday and Wednesday as our regular classes. Then there's courses that we teach all throughout the month. You can see them on our calendar over there on the bulletin board. You can see it on our website, on our events calendar. Those are great places for people who are just starting out on the path to enlightenment. But oftentimes there's students who come in here who don't necessarily have this information, and you'll learn plenty today. It's just a different style of learning. That typically what I do is I teach for like 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then I open up for questions, and then I teach another 15, 20, 30 minutes and open up for questions, where in this particular program, we do it more as a study group where there's these other books, volumes 2 through 13, that have the words of the Buddha. So this is the Buddha's teachings. This is the words of the Buddha here. And you can see this chapter is about 1 page. And you have the words of the Buddha. You have a reference that takes you back to the original source teachings of the Buddha. And then you've got words from me that are guiding you on how to implement this into your day-to-day life. This is an extract from something that we refer to as the Pali Canon. The Pali Canon is 45 volumes of books that are this thick that contain the largest, most complete collection that we have of the teachings of the Buddha. And what this book series does is it extracts that and kind of provides you the most important teachings that you need in order to be able to make your way to enlightenment. So once someone already has a foundation or a framework established, the Pali Canon English study group kind of fills that in, where we study the original words of the Buddha. And the way that we do this is I invite people here at the temple and anybody who's joining in Zoom to be able to volunteer to read this chapter. And then after somebody reads the chapter, I will share some teachings on that to help you to further understand this chapter. The Buddha taught very clear, very concise, and very precise, but it's helpful to have a dedicated practitioner and teacher to be able to guide you and help you to understand the path to enlightenment. So that's why I'll share some teachings on that. Then afterwards, I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to that particular chapter. So this is a bit different than the way that I teach all the other programs, and you'll see how it goes as we learn together. So if there's someone here at the temple that would like to volunteer to read this, we have microphones in the middle of the room in this white bowl. All you need to do is get a microphone, bring it back to your seat, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on, and you just hold it up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then if you would like to keep these microphones with you, that's fine, because you might have a question or someone around you might have a question. You can just share the microphone with them. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn off the microphone, this would be helpful so that we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then if there's anybody online in Zoom who would like to read, you can raise your hand electronically and unmute your microphone and be able to read that way. And if there's anybody online who would like to ask questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, and I'll be able to see that, and then you'll be able to get your question answered that way. So I'll show you guys how this program works and how you can learn here. Is there someone who would like to read this first chapter? Leo? Joel? Okay, yeah, go for it, guys.
Gifts of a wholesome person. Second discourse. Monks, there are these 5 gifts of a wholesome person. What 5? First, he gives a gift out of confidence. 2, he gives a gift respectfully. 3, he gives a timely gift. 4, he gives a gift unreservedly. 5, he gives a gift without injuring himself or others. First, because he has given a gift out of confidence, wherever the results of that gift is produced, he becomes rich with great wealth and property, and he is handsome, attractive, grateful, possessing supreme beauty of complexion. 2, because he has given a gift respectfully, wherever the results of that gift is produced, he becomes rich with great wealth and property, and his sons and wives, slaves, servants, and workers are obedient. Lend an ear and apply their minds to understand. 3, because he has given a timely gift, wherever the results of that gift is produced, he becomes rich with great wealth and property, and timely benefits come to him in abundance. 4. Because he has given a gift unreservedly, wherever the results of that gift is produced, he becomes rich with great wealth and property, and his mind inclines to the enjoyment of the 5 kinds of fine sensual pleasure. 5. Because he has given a gift without injuring himself or others, wherever the result of that gift is produced, he becomes rich with great wealth and property, and no damage comes to his property from any source, whether from fire, flood, kings, thieves, or displeasing hairs. These are the 5 gifts of a wholesome person.
Okay, thank you, Leo. So this book that we're now in chapter 41. We're actually coming towards the end of this program. It's called Generosity. That's the title of the book. It's volume 13 of our book series. So students, by the time they have gotten here, they've already studied many other things. So this particular teaching, you wouldn't necessarily just understand right off the bat unless you've actually studied some of these other teachings. So I'll just give you guys a little bit of a summary of some of the things that you would need to learn in order to be able to understand this teaching. The Buddhist teachings are all based in helping you to understand and cultivate wisdom about what's referred to as the natural laws of existence. He's not giving you rules or commandments to follow. There's not any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship. It's not about believing things and hoping something good happens when you die. He's helping you to understand the world around you, because the reason why you struggle and have difficulties in your day-to-day life is because the mind just has a lack of wisdom. It doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. And this is part of the unknowing of true reality, the lack of wisdom or confusion that the mind has. The way you can think about it is like when we were growing up and we didn't understand the natural law of gravity, we struggled and had difficulties. That's why we fell down. We hit our head. We bumped our elbows. We broke our toys, and we cried and cried and cried because we didn't understand the world that we lived in, this natural law of gravity. But we never believed in this natural law. And this natural law was affecting us whether we were aware of it or not. But slowly but surely, we cultivated wisdom of this natural law. And now we're at a point where you might say that we have fully awoke, or we fully awakened to the natural law of gravity, meaning we fully cultivated wisdom about this natural law of gravity. And now with that wisdom, we make improved decisions and we experience improved results. That we don't fall down so much anymore. We tie our shoes tighter. We look at the surface of the sidewalk, and we stop being so giddy and bouncing around like a kid. So we can do things like climb ladders, we can ride bicycles, we get on airplanes and fly all over the world, because we fully awoke to this wisdom, and now we make wiser decisions. So the Buddha is teaching you this cause and effect, or action and result. He's teaching you this natural law of Gama, or some people refer to it as karma. This is the Sanskrit version of this word, where the original teachings of the Buddha are in the Pali language, so the people who study those will typically use the word Gama. If this translated to just one English word, I would just use that word because it'd be easier for everyone, but it doesn't translate to one English word. What it means is cause and effect, or action and result. It's the results of your decisions. That whenever you make a decision wisely, you will experience wholesome Gama, or wholesome results. And when you make decisions unwisely, you will experience unwholesome Gama, or unwholesome results. And when you lack wisdom of this natural law, you will tend to make unwise decisions. And what the mind does when it experiences those unwholesome results coming back to us, we will tend to blame it on other people. Is what the mind usually does. Or you might say it's good luck or bad luck, or destiny or fate, or some entity like God, or the entity called the universe, or something like this. But this isn't truly why you're experiencing unwholesome results in certain situations in day-to-day life. It's actually your own decisions that are leading to any particular result that you're experiencing. But the mind doesn't want to admit this to itself because it doesn't have the wisdom, and the ego's in there saying, I'm so right and everybody else is so wrong. So the mind doesn't want to see this reality. But a Buddha is able to see this reality of the cause and effect of this natural law of Gama. This natural law of Gama isn't punishments and rewards. It's not about who's to blame or who's at fault. It's nothing mystical or magical. It's not a black cloud that's following you around or anything like this. It's just cause and effect, or action and result. So everything the Buddha is teaching you is about helping you to understand this natural law, so that way you can go out into the world and make wiser and wiser decisions and experience more and more wholesome results in your day-to-day life. Because now when you you navigate the world with that wisdom, understanding how the world truly is, you'll get to a point where ultimately you don't have any stress or anxiety. There's no anger, frustration, or agitation, annoyance. All those feelings can be eliminated through uprooting the causes and conditions that are producing this. The number one thing that's causing this is, of course, the lack of wisdom or the unknowing of true reality or the confusion. But then the underlying thing that's truly causing the mind to experience anger, sadness, and frustration and all these other things is the mind is craving permanence. The mind has a longing and yearning, craving permanence, wanting things to be permanent while you live in an impermanent world. So if the mind is longing, yearning, and craving for something, if it gets what it wants, it gets happy, excited, elated, thrill, euphoria, you get pleasant feelings. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants, it gets painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. This is the mind's craving, desire, attachment. So if you think like if you got a brand new car, for example, and you drove that brand new car to a store and you parked it at the store and you went inside and then you came out and there was a scratch on your car, if you get frustrated in that situation, it's not the scratch that's causing that. And it's not the person who scratched your car. That's not what's causing you to be frustrated. What's causing the anger and frustration is the mind is craving permanence, wanting this car to look permanently beautiful, when in reality, that's not possible. This car is impermanent. It's temporary. It's going to constantly change. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. But as long as your mind is craving permanence, while you live in an impermanent world, you will experience happiness when you're getting what you want, and you will get angry and sad and frustrated when you're not getting what you want. And because the world's impermanent, you can't always get what you want. So the mind's kind of going up and down throughout your life. So for example, if you get really happy and excited when it's sunny outside, when it's raining, you'll be sad or frustrated. Only thing that's happened here is change. That's it. This is where you can see that it's not other people who are causing you to be angry and frustrated because there's no other person involved, right? Sometimes we think that it's mom and dad that are making us angry or frustrated, or brothers and sisters are annoying us or something like this, or maybe your boss is making you feel embarrassed or something like that. It's not any of these people that are causing it. It's what's going on in your own mind. Here's another example. If you get really happy and excited when your bank account balance is up here, when it goes down here, you'll be sad or frustrated. That's just change. That's all that is, right? It's just impermanence. But the mind doesn't understand this. It doesn't understand you live in an impermanent world. Things are constantly changing. So the Buddhist teachings are bringing this to your attention so that then you don't believe this teaching. You independently verify it to be able to see the truth for yourself. So I invite you to take a moment to think about a recent time where you've been angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. Look at that situation with this fresh eyes. What was it that your mind was longing and yearning for? What was it that you wanted? And if you would have gotten it, you would have been happy or excited. But because you didn't get what you wanted, the mind was angry or sad or frustrated. And if you can't see this, let me know. Ask me questions. Maybe you showed up to the airport so excited to go to Thailand, and then your flight was delayed and you were frustrated or angry, right? This is because the mind craves for every single airplane to take off on time, right? Especially the ones that you're on. And it can't happen that way, right? There's going to be maintenance issues, crew issues. There's going to be weather issues. These planes can't all take off on time. It's physically impossible. But the mind craves for that to be the case. And then when you show up to the airport and you see your flight's delayed, you might be angry or frustrated. And then you might even start becoming bitter and hostile and harsh with the airline company, right? When the mind is experiencing these painful feelings, it falsely believes that they're being caused by something external. So what you might be doing is pushing people away. This is called aversion, where you push people away or you push a situation away. Or you might be bitter and harsh and hostile to this person. Or you might put your expectations on them, trying to control them or forcing them to do things a certain way. So as long as your mind's doing this, you can't live harmoniously with all people, because it's only a matter of time before you run across somebody who's doing things differently than you. And now you can only like these people when they do things your way. But when they're doing things this way over here, you don't like them. That dislike is coming from your own mind. You have certain wants and expectations, and it's only when people meet your expectations that you like them. And then when they don't do things your way, you dislike them. So you need to be able to see this truth that it's your own mind that's experiencing these feelings and causing these feelings. Because as long as you go around the world blaming other people for the feelings you're experiencing, you'll never actually be able to eliminate them, eliminating the causes and conditions that are producing it. So the Buddha is teaching you to train your mind to let go. That's what that meditation is that we just did, where your mind's focused on the breath and it moves off the breath. You train your mind to let go, and now you come back to the breath, right? But your mind doesn't know how to let go in the unenlightened state. So this meditation is like exercising the mind to let go. Well, this topic of generosity that is part of this 13th book of the book series, where you're learning generosity, this is also to train your mind to let go. Because one of the things that the mind will do when it has craving, desire, attachment is it'll hold on to things and it'll become quite selfish. It's kind of like an animal hoarding its food. An animal doesn't want to share. We're not animals. We're human beings. And the path to enlightenment is to become a better and better human being. So the Buddha is teaching you to give and share with the people around you, so that this way it trains your mind to let go. So, for example, if you take your clothes out of the washing machine and you see they're ripped and torn and you get frustrated or agitated about that, that's because your mind is craving for these clothes to be permanent. When in reality, they're not permanent. They are impermanent. So one of the things you can do is start giving away some of your clothes, practicing generosity, and this will train your mind to let go and not crave for your clothing to be permanent. If you get angry and frustrated when your bank account balance goes down, maybe when it's up here, you're happy, and when it goes down here, you're frustrated and agitated, you can see you're attached to your money. You might decide to think about sharing that with people around you. Maybe you can find some charitable organizations to be able to give and share the resources that you have without any expectation of anything in return. Maybe you notice that when your jewelry is misplaced and you can't find it, your mind is all shaken up by that. This is your mind being attached to your jewelry, craving for it to be permanent. Maybe your jewelry is really expensive and you can't give it away. So maybe you just kind of share it with your people you trust, maybe your brothers and sisters or a good friend. You can give it to them for a few weeks to let them wear it, or just keep it at their house while you train your mind to not have it. This will train your mind to let go. So the Buddha, in teaching generosity, wasn't trying to enrich himself, right? Because obviously there's people who make offerings to ordained practitioners and teachers and temples. This is all for an important reason, to be able to train your mind to let go and allow other people to get access to the teachings of the Buddha. But sometimes when people see a teacher teaching things like this, like generosity, they might think, oh, this person's trying to enrich themselves. But the Buddha was actually a prince. He was destined to become a king. He was already rich and wealthy, and he actually walked away from that life into a life of homelessness. And that's ultimately what he did in order to train his mind to get to enlightenment. You don't have to go into a life of homelessness in order to be able to get to enlightenment. But the Buddha decided to do this, where he just lived off of the generosity of his students. They gave him food, clothing, shelter, and medical care as a way to support himself. But the reason why he taught generosity is not because he was trying to enrich himself, because he didn't even accept money as part of an offering, because he lived side by side with his students, so he didn't actually need money. He was teaching generosity because he knew that this mental state of enlightenment that he figured out how to attain, that he needed to practice an extensive amount of generosity himself in order to be able to get to that mental state. So he knew that any students that he was going to be teaching, they also needed to practice generosity in order to be able to get to enlightenment. So he was teaching generosity to be able to help you train your mind to let go. And what you'll see is this will help you. If you're practicing the giving and sharing of more than is strictly required in any given situation, without any expectation of anything in return, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources, this will train your mind to let go. So if you're walking into a store and you see somebody behind you, you could easily hold the door for this person and let them go in before you. This would be your generosity. But if you're standing there with an expectation that this person should say thank you to you, if they don't say thank you, you'll be frustrated or agitated or annoyed when they walk through, because your mind's craving for everybody to say thank you, where you don't live in that world. You don't live in a permanent world. Some people are going to walk through and say thank you. Some people aren't. right? So as you practice generosity, it's wise to do it in ways that you can easily integrate it into your life, and it doesn't take you, 10 hours a day to practice generosity. That's not possible, right? So you like to just do these little acts of generosity throughout your day. Or maybe you're going to the market and you're buying some mangoes for yourself. Maybe you toss some bananas in there too for your neighbor. Or maybe you're going to the store to buy yourself a chocolate bar, and maybe you buy one or two extras for somebody else and you give it away to somebody else. And maybe you don't even know who you're going to give it to, but at some point in your day, you're going to encounter somebody that you'll be able to give away a chocolate bar to. This is a way to easily integrate generosity into your day-to-day life. So here the Buddha is talking about an individual who's giving gifts, and he's talking about this wholesome person and how this person might give, right? This isn't the only teaching that the Buddha shares about generosity. This is just one teaching. So as you heard, we're in chapter 41 here. So he's talking about giving a gift out of confidence, giving gifts respectfully, timely gift, unreservedly, and without injuring himself or others. So he's helping you to be able to see this cause and effect, or this natural law of karma, as it relates to giving gifts. Right? So this first one, he says, because he's given a gift out of confidence, wherever the result of that gift is produced, meaning the wholesome results coming back to that person, this person becomes rich, wealthy in property, and he is handsome, attractive, graceful, possessing supreme beauty and complexion. That's not the reason to give a gift, right? If you give a gift because you want this, you actually aren't giving and practicing generosity. Your mind's still craving something. The Buddha is just helping you to be able to see this cause and effect, this action and result. So if you see people in the world that you think are quite beautiful or quite handsome, or maybe you yourself or that, you can understand that you've practiced a certain amount of generosity, because the reason why this person would have that certain complexion that the Buddha is talking about here is because generosity is training the mind to eliminate craving, desire, attachment, where your mind's holding on. If your mind's holding on and you have craving, desire, attachment, you'll get things your way sometimes and you'll be happy. But other times you're not going to get what you want, and you're going to be angry and disgruntled and agitated and frustrated. And if you've ever looked at yourself in the mirror when you're angry or frustrated, you don't look handsome. You don't look beautiful. You look really nasty, right? So what the Buddha is sharing with you here is that by you practicing generosity, you're eliminating your craving, desire, attachment, where you're craving for things to be permanent, which means you're eliminating your anger and hostility is coming down, which means you're going to have a nicer complexion. You're going to be more beautiful. You're going to be more handsome, right? That's what he's sharing with you here. He's not suggesting that you should go out in the world and want to look a certain way. He's just showing you the cause and effect of choosing to give a gift. It's going to reduce your craving. It's going to reduce your anger, and therefore there's going to be this nicer appearance on your face. Right? You can understand that. Then he says here, because he has given a gift respectfully, and by the way, in previous discourses, he explained how to do these things. But here he says, having given respectfully, wherever the results of that gift is produced, he becomes rich with great wealth and property, and his sons, wives, slaves, which we can think about as employees, because we don't have slaves today. Obviously, there are some places in the world that have slaves, but that's not advisable. But during his lifetime, there was quite a few people that had slaves. Servants, the workers are obedient, they lend an ear, and they apply their minds to understand. So giving respectfully is as you're giving and sharing with people, that you do so with your own hand, right? That you're not just like, yeah, give that stuff we're going to throw away. Just give that to that person over there, right? Instead, they're giving with intention. They're giving respectfully. They've actually intentionally chose to give this nice gift to this person. What the Buddha is saying is, by somebody choosing to give respectfully, the people around you will see that you're a respectful person. Now, because you're practicing being respectful, people will then have respect for you. Again, you shouldn't give gifts because you want people to respect you. But if you give gifts respectfully, the people around you will see that, and then they will choose to respect you too. That's the cause and effect of what an individual is experiencing. Then giving a timely gift, that wherever this is done, that an individual is rich, wealthy, with great property, and timely benefits come to him in abundance. Giving a timely gift is like, say you have a child that's going on a field trip or a camping trip, and you give them a flashlight right before they get ready to go on this camping trip. This is a timely gift at a certain time when they could actually use this particular gift. That's what the Buddha taught in previous discourses in the book, where he's explaining this timely gift, like giving a gift that could be used essentially in a readily period of time. Where, like, say you were giving somebody a gift that, maybe it was your grandmother and you're giving them a bicycle. Right. And grandma's like 80 years old. There's no way she's ever going to ride this bicycle. That wouldn't be a timely gift. Right. But, there's a way to give a gift that is timely. Maybe there's the 6-year-old child that is interested in learning how to ride a bicycle. And now you give that person a gift. That's a timely gift because this person can now use that gift in that particular moment. So the Buddha is saying here that there's certain timely benefits that come to this person in abundance. Then giving a gift unreservedly. What this is that you're not hoarding your things, that you're not being selfish, that you're willing to give the things that you would think that would be wise for other people to use. And now you're not just hoarding things, but you're giving without any kind of selfishness. And that's ultimately the type of giving that you would like to practice. And what he's saying here is this person's inclined to enjoy the 5 kinds of fine sensual pleasures. What he's talking about here is that in order for you to give unreservedly, that you would need to eliminate certain cravings to sensual pleasures, right? So like say you have a big pack of cookies. If you gave unreservedly and you're just like, here, have some cookies, and you passed it around the room, and then when it came back, maybe there's 1 cookie left. And you're completely fine with that. You're not upset. You're not frustrated. If you would like to eat more cookies, you're just going to go buy some more cookies instead of like watching it go around and you're worried about every little cookie that is being taken. And then there's one that comes back and you're kind of frustrated that people took so many cookies. This is not giving unreservedly. This is you still have craving and you still want those cookies and you're still longing, yearning for them. You're not giving unreservedly in this situation. So in order to give unreservedly, you would have had to eliminate some of your sensual desire in order to be able to do this. So that's why an individual will enjoy this particular thing, that as now this 1 cookie comes back, I can enjoy this 1 cookie, right? Or I can go buy some more cookies and enjoy that. So this is the underlying thing that's causing the mind to not give unreservedly, is sensual pleasure. Now, when he's talking about giving unreservedly, that doesn't mean you give in excess, right? When you're practicing generosity, in all these teachings of the Buddha, they're based in discernment, that you need to have wise decision making as you're going through the world. That's what the Buddha is helping you to be able to do, is cultivate wise decision making. And even with something like generosity, you need to practice what's called the middle way. Whereas if you overextended yourself with your generosity and you were just giving, you might not have the basic supplies you need in order to be able to sustain your life. But if you were never giving, if you were on the other side of this, your mind would be quite selfish. So you need to come to the middle where you're giving and sharing with the people around you. And that's the middle way, where you're not overextending yourself, but you're not also being selfish. So giving unreservedly doesn't mean you just give everything that you've got. That's not what that means. It means that you give without having craving for the things that you are giving. So now when these cookies come back and you just have 1 cookie, you're like, okay, I'm fine with that. I can just eat my 1 cookie, or I can go get some more cookies, that you're not holding on to the things that you're giving away. And then lastly, this is one that hasn't really shown up in the series of the book yet. He says, because he's given a gift without injuring himself or others, wherever that is produced, of course, there's rich wealth and so forth and so on, but no damage comes to his property from any source, whether fire, floods, kings, thieves, displeasing heirs. Again, he's showing you this cause and effect. Giving a gift by injuring somebody, or injuring or harming another being, would be to do things like maybe you steal from one person and you give it to somebody else. That would be injuring this person in order to be able to give to somebody else. Also, you can even injure yourself when you're giving. That's why it's important not to overextend yourself whenever you're giving, because you could be injuring yourself, right? That's why you need to practice this middle way whenever you're practicing generosity. So you're not interested in causing harm to others in order for you to then practice generosity. That would be unwise. But if you give without injuring people, then that means you're not causing harm. So therefore, harm isn't coming to you. That's the basis of all the teachings of the Buddha, is eliminating any harm that you're causing. Now, you guys heard me say earlier that you can't cause someone to be discontent, right? Like nobody can cause you to be angry or frustrated or sad or any of these feelings. If you're experiencing any feelings, it's coming from your own mind, 100%. But you can cause other people harm. If you're causing someone harm, you're causing harm to their physical body, to their material possessions, or their reputation. And if you're causing harm to somebody, harm is going to come back to you. It's only a matter of time before this occurs. So the Buddha is teaching you that if you're going to practice generosity, don't cause harm to any being, right? Material possessions, their physical body, or their reputation. And that includes you too. You can't cause harm to yourself if you're going to practice generosity. Because if you overextend your generosity, you're not in the middle, and now you can be damaged because of that. So this is a teaching on generosity. It's a deeper teaching than what we have been studying. Again, we're in chapter 41 here of this book, and it's the last book of the book series. But I think you guys are understanding why the Buddha taught generosity and how it's affecting your mind. By living open-handedly, your mind is experiencing more and more joy because you're training your mind to eliminate its craving and hoarding resources. You know, as we grew up, we were all probably taught to share our toys. That might be something that you learned growing up. Your family might have taught you that. But as we get older and we start working for ourselves and we start making money, we tend to hoard our money. We tend to hold on to it. Sometimes we think people are trying to steal our money and take it away from us, maybe, and things like that. And we're not interested in sharing with others. This is the way that the mind holds on to things, and it becomes quite selfish. So we were taught to share for a reason, because it eliminates your anger, your sadness, your frustration, and all these other discontent feelings. You would need more on the path to enlightenment than just practicing generosity, but this is an important practice of your journey to enlightenment. And you can see that this path to enlightenment that the Buddha taught isn't just based in meditation. A lot of times people focus a lot on meditation. You go to some of these meditation retreats and they'll meditate for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Well, if you're never learning all these other teachings, you'll never be able to get to enlightenment. That you're going to need to practice a lot of other things. It's not just about meditation. If the path to enlightenment was just about meditation, the Buddha would have just taught meditation and that's it. But we have all these other teachings that are so important to be able to learn, and generosity is one of those things. So if you're frequently giving throughout your day, this can be really beneficial for your mind because it's training your mind to let go. So if you're noticing that you're having any kind of discontentedness because your mind's holding on to any type of material objects, if you start practicing generosity with that, it'll train your mind to let go. So do you guys have any questions on this chapter? Yes, Joe.
I have two questions, Mr. David. What is the difference between a king and a thief?
So I suggest to people when they see this, when the Buddha is talking about the king, to think about it as the government.
Right.
That during the lifetime of the Buddha, if you didn't satisfy the king, he had the power and his army had the power to barge into your house and just start taking things. And this is one of the reasons why nowadays we have governments that have created laws against those kinds of things, that they're not allowed to do those kinds of things. So if you didn't pay your taxes, for example, nowadays, since we're no longer in that period of time that the Buddha experienced, but we can relate this to this. If you didn't pay your taxes, the government's going to come in and start taking things from you. But if you are practicing without injuring yourself or others, then you understand that it would be unwise to not pay your taxes, because now you're essentially causing harm to someone, their material possessions, right? And now you're taking from that person, and now people are going to take from you, the government. So a king or the government, this is a organization that has empowered themselves to be able to now take from you if you're not following the rules of that population of people. And if you don't like the rules of that population of people and what's transpiring there, you can always choose to leave if you have the ability to do that. And now you don't have to conform to what those people are wanting and expecting from you.
Thank you. And a slave, a servant, and a worker, what is the difference between those three?
So a slave is someone who is essentially been bought and sold and is, let me go up here to slave. Where is it at? It was up here. Okay. So a slave is someone who's been bought and sold and is essentially working for this person out of, this servitude that this individual is now being subjected to. A servant is someone who is essentially getting paid a certain amount of money, but they're maybe living with their boss. They're living at the home, but they're still getting paid a small amount of money. A worker is someone who is employed, but they're outside the home. They're not actually living inside the home. Mm-hmm. And that's why I suggest that you guys think of this part right here as just employees. Right, that's a better way to think about it, because we're not interested in having slaves, and we do have the definition of servant, but we don't think of them that way, right? Like if a housekeeper lived with you, you wouldn't think of them as a servant, but you would think of them as an employee or someone who's contributing to your home, and now you're paying them, and part of their salary is that they get to live with you. That's part of their salary, right? Okay, no other questions here? Okay, so let's go to the next chapter. Is there someone who would like to read this one? This one I think is also, just about one page.
A wholesome person is born for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many. Monks, when a wholesome person is born in a family, it is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people. It is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of his mother and father, his wife and children, his slaves, workers, and servants, his friends and companions, his departed ancestors, the king, the heavenly beings, and ascetics and Brahmins. Just as a great rain cloud nurturing all the crops appears for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people, so too, when a wholesome person is born in a family, it is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of many people. It is for the good, welfare, and peacefulness of his mother and father, his wife and children, his slaves, workers, and servants, his friends and companions, his departed ancestors, the king, the heavenly beings, and ascetics and Brahmins. The wise person residing at home truly lives for the good of many. Day and night diligent toward his mother, father, and ancestors.
Our microphones are impermanent too.
Day and night diligent toward his mother, father, and ancestors, he respects them in accordance with the teachings, remembering what they did for him in the past. Firm in confidence, the devoted man, having known their wholesome qualities, respects the homeless ascetics, the ascetics who lead the spiritual life. Beneficial to the king and the heavenly beings, beneficial to his relatives and friends, indeed beneficial to all, well established in the wholesome teachings, he has removed the stain of selfishness and fares on to a heavenly world. When a person supports his parents and respects the family elders, when his speech is gentle and courteous, and he refrains from argumentative words, when he strives to remove meanness, is truthful, and eliminates anger, the Tavitimsa, heavenly beings, call him truly a wholesome person.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. So the goal of the teachings of the Buddha is not to be a really great person in this life, die, and then go to heaven and be there for the rest of eternity. That's not what the Buddha is teaching you. But he does teach these 5 realms of existence, of hell, the animal realm, afflicted spirits, which are like ghosts, the human realm, and then heavenly realm. And these are things that you can actually independently verify. You just might not have the wisdom or have had the experiences yet to be able to independently verify them. But these are parts of the teachings that can be independently verified. So here the Buddha is just talking about a wholesome person that is in a certain family, that this is very beneficial to all the people around you, because the decisions that you make influence the people around you. It's like a ripple effect. Like if you had a calm piece of water and you dropped a stone into it, it's going to ripple out and it's going to affect the individuals around you. But if you're gentle and peaceful and joyful, that's also going to affect the people around you. So what the Buddha is saying here is that for somebody who's practicing these teachings, becoming a wholesome person, who's joyful, who's giving and sharing, that's what he ultimately gets to. That's the reason why this is actually in here. A person who's respectful to their family members, who's practicing these teachings, they're not being bitter and harsh and hostile. They're not being argumentative to the people around them. So therefore, it's beneficial for all these individuals that he's talking about here. So one of the things that I share when I share these teachings, oftentimes when I say goodbye to students in a class like this, I might end with saying, learning and practicing the teachings of the Buddha is the very best thing that you could ever do for yourself, those around you, and all of humanity. That's what the Buddha is explaining here, that by you becoming a wholesome person, it's helping you, it's helping those people around you, and it's helping all of the world, because you're putting less and less harm out into the world. As an unenlightened being, when there's pollution in the mind, even without you realizing it, there's a certain amount of harm that you're putting out into the world. The bitterness, the harshness, the hostility, certain decisions that you're making. And of course, you would like to do well, but the unenlightened mind just doesn't know how. It lacks wisdom of how to do that. So there's this ripple effect that an individual who's unenlightened is going to have in the world without them even realizing it. You can think you have all the best intentions in the world, and now as you're making decisions, if you're not understanding the natural law of karma, you're not necessarily making the wisest decisions in the world. So as you become wiser and wiser about this natural law, you're going to become more and more of a wholesome person. You're going to be making wiser and wiser decisions and impacting the people around you less and less, because you're not causing harm. And now this is where more and more peace and joy is coming into your mind, because as long as you're putting out harm is going to come back to you. But when you change and you become more and more wholesome and you're putting out love and kindness and compassion more and more, that is what's going to be coming back to you. So you'll be able to see this cause and effect of you improving your mind, improving your life, that things will improve for you. So oftentimes we think that the way to change the world and change what we experience around us is to go out and change other people. Oftentimes people want to put expectations on each other and try to control each other and try to convince other people to do things your way. But you'll never get to peace and joy this way. So by you working on your mind, it's going to help you, it's going to help those around you, and it's going to help all of humanity. That's what the Buddha is describing here. So do you guys have any questions on this particular chapter? No questions? Okay, maybe we'll do one more or so. Let's see. Yeah, this is a really nice one. Somebody like to read this one? Yeah, sure.
Fragrance of wholesome people spreads against the wind. Here, Ananda, in whatever village or town, a man or a woman has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. He or she is virtuous, practicing moral conduct, and of wholesome character, abstaining from the destruction of life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, and liquor, wine, and intoxicants, substances that cause heedlessness, the basis for heedlessness, and he or she resides at home with a mind free of the stain of selfishness, freely.
We lost your mic.
Joyful in letting go, devoted to charity.
There's another mic for you right there.
Freely generous, open-handed, joyful in letting go, devoted to charity, joyful in giving and sharing. In such a case, ascetics and Brahmins in all quarters speak praise, saying, In such and such a village or town, a man or a woman has gone for refuge to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. He or she is virtuous, practicing moral conduct, and of wholesome character, abstaining from the destruction of life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, and liquor, wine, and intoxicants, substances that cause heedlessness. The basis for heedlessness, and he or she resides at home with a mind free of the stain of selfishness, freely generous, open-handed, joyful in letting go, devoted to charity, joyful in giving and sharing. The heavenly beings and the spirits too speak praise, saying, in such and such a village or town, a man or a woman has gone for the refuge to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. He or she is virtuous, practicing moral conduct and of wholesome character, abstaining from the destruction of life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, and liquor, wine, and intoxicants, substances that cause heedlessness, the basis for heedlessness. And he or she resides at home with a mind free of the stain of selfishness, freely generous, open-handed, joyful in letting go, devoted to charity, joyful in giving and sharing. This, Ananda, is the fragrance that spreads with the wind against the wind, and both with and against the wind. The fragrance of flowers does not spread against the wind, nor the fragrance of sandal, tagara, or jasmine. But the fragrance of wholesome people spreads against the wind. The wholesome person's fragrance fills all quarters.
Okay. Thank you, Joycelyn. So what the Buddha is talking about here is that as you learn and practice the wholesome teachings and you understand the natural law of karma and you're choosing to make decisions based on that you're going to develop a wholesome reputation in your community. This is what he's talking about how this fragrance is spreading against the wind, right? That even these smell of these flowers, the fragrance doesn't spread against the wind, it goes with the wind. But this individual who is practicing good, wholesome moral conduct, and he's giving a couple of examples of those things, that you're going to develop a wholesome reputation for yourself in the world. And that's not why you would want to practice these teachings. Like, you're not going out into the world trying to show off and puff out your chest and be boastful about the fact that you're practicing these teachings so well, but he's just showing you the cause and effect of what will happen. That as you're slowly learning and growing and developing on this path, more and more people will understand that what you're doing is wholesome, but you're never going to be in a situation where everybody understands that. That is permanence. So even when you're enlightened, you're still going to have people gossiping and slandering about you. It's going to happen. But the difference is that your mind's unaffected by it, that you're not upset, you're not angry, you're not frustrated. In the unenlightened state, when people are talking negatively of you, you'll be frustrated, you'll be agitated, you'll be embarrassed or having other feelings like this. You might be angry, right? You might be even hostile and bitter and resentment towards those people. But by the time you get to enlightenment, even those things are still going on. They're happening minimally, but as they're happening, your mind will be unaffected by it. And you'll see that there's all these other people in the world that are talking positively about you. But you need to be sure that your mind isn't getting pleasant feelings when that is occurring. Because if you get pleasant feelings when people are talking fondly of you, when people are talking in disparaging ways about you, you'll be angry and sad and frustrated. That's why the mind is experiencing that, is that the mind is craving permanence. And you're getting those pleasant feelings when people are talking fondly of you. And then when people aren't, then you're going to be angry and frustrated. So while the Buddha is saying here that this fragrance is spreading against the wind, it's not to say that everybody is going to think of you in a positive way. Even someone like a Buddha, right? There's people that hate the Buddha. So if there's people that hate the Buddha, there's going to be people that hate you. But you need to be able to understand that that hatred that they have in their mind, it's coming from their mind. It's not coming from you. It's their own mind that's causing that. They're having certain cravings and expectations of wanting you to be a certain way. They're craving permanence. And if you meet their expectations, they're happy. But if you don't meet their expectations, they're going to be angry or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. And it's not possible for you to meet every single person's expectations. And I would advise you not to even try, because as soon as you get yourself caught into that, where you're trying to meet other people's expectations, you're not living the life that you were interested to live. You're just trying to fulfill other people's expectations. So you need to be able to live the life that you know is wise. And sometimes what you know to be wise is not what other people know to be wise. So you need to be an independent thinker and go out into the world and make decisions based on what you know to be wise. So even the Buddha, people gossip and slandered him. And even today, people still gossip and slander him. During his lifetime, there was even individuals that tried to kill him. There was actually two different people that tried to kill him during his lifetime. But he was never affected by it because he was fully protected. His mind made wise decisions to ensure that those things didn't affect him. The Buddha shares this one discourse. It's not this one, but he talks about in another discourse where he says, he says, I taught people how to eliminate their discontentedness. This is what I teach people, is how to eliminate discontentedness. And if people honor, appreciate, and respect me for that, my mind is unaffected. But if people hate me, if they're resentful towards me and they're bitter towards me because that's what I teach is the elimination of discontentedness, my mind is also unaffected with that too. But if people do honor, appreciate, and respect me for teaching people how to eliminate their discontentedness, that's because they've understood what I teach, right? So for somebody who doesn't understand what the Buddha teaches, they could be very angry and bitter and hostile and harsh towards him. But he's actually teaching people just the opposite of that. But oftentimes people don't understand that. So when you see a discourse like this, it's important for you to understand there's still impermanence here. While definitely you will acquire an improved reputation, more and more and more and more, 99.9% of the people around you will be thinking of you in fond ways by the time you get to enlightenment. There's still going to be some people that don't. So the Buddha is explaining exactly what's true here is that as you become more and more of a wholesome person, your reputation is going to spread, and there's going to be countless people who think of you in positive ways, but there's going to be some people who don't. And just understand that that's what's going on in their mind. You're not causing that. That's their own cravings, desires, their wants, and their expectations. They're wanting you to be a certain way, and when you don't conform to what they want, their anger is arising. And you're not going to be able to stop their anger because their mind is the one that's causing it. You'll never be in a situation where everyone in the world loves you. It's just not going to happen. You'll never be in a world that everybody loves you. But you're also not going to be in a world where everybody hates you either, right? Because that's impermanence. So the more that you practice these teachings and you become more and more of a wholesome person, you'll see that your reputation will just grow and grow and grow. But that shouldn't be the reason why you're choosing to learn and practice these teachings. You're doing this out of love and kindness and compassion for this being who you are and for the beings that are around you, that you're disinterested in causing harm to beings because you've seen the truth that whenever you put out harm, harm comes back to you. And that's why you'd like to improve what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis so that you don't continue to cause harm. And then that way you can eliminate your discontent feelings where you're no longer experiencing any anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings. So do you guys have any questions on this discourse? Yes, sir.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find it hard to grapple with the idea that the Buddha could be hated. In my opinion, 99.9% or 100% of people are inherently good. And I believe in the concept of a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And the whole approach to the Buddha is very much along the lines of, if you're in society and you're lining up to catch an escalator and you're walking up and someone tries to push in front of you, and if you step aside and say, oh, you go first, what often happens when you do that, they then say, oh, no, you go first. But if you hadn't done that, they would have pushed in front. So with that kind of train of thought, I just find it hard to understand how, were there repercussions of his work that were causing people to leave religions? So that why would people hate a person who has teachings that are very much along the lines of a gentle answer turns away wrath, a harsh word stirs up anger?
Because of impermanence, not everybody is going to love you. and not everybody's going to hate you. It's not possible for everyone in the world to love you. It's just not possible. So if there's a person who has hatred towards the Buddha, this is because they have certain cravings in their mind. There's certain expectations. They want this person to be a certain way, and they can only love that person if they do things their way. This is the selfishness. This isn't actually love, right? This is that person being selfish and having certain desires that they want other people to conform to the way they want to do things. So in the world, oftentimes we think there's right and wrong, right? And this is like black and white. This isn't true. That there's oftentimes multiple right answers, right? But if a person in their mind with their ego thinks that my way is the right way and everybody else's way is the wrong way, that means this one way that I do things, this is the right way. And anybody who doesn't conform to that, I'm now going to hate them because they're not doing things my way. So the Buddha did things that he knew were wise. And if the more you learn his teachings and you investigate them, you can see how wise they are, that they lead exactly to this enlightened mental state that he taught. But these people who hate him, they don't understand his teachings. They haven't actually learned and practiced his teachings. That's why they still have hatred in their mind. So there's people that would hate a Buddha or an enlightened being. Just because you're enlightened doesn't mean you walk on water and everybody looks at you and thinks you're so wonderful. And even the individual who reportedly did walk on water, people hate that person too, right? According to the history books and the Bible, Jesus walked on water and people hate that person too, right? So you're never going to be in a situation where everybody loves you because of the universal truths of impermanence. We understand that that's the case, but you need to be able to see the truth that hatred that person has is coming from their own mind. It's not coming from you. And now you can understand that this is the way the world works. But you need to be able to train your mind not to have a craving for everyone to love you. Because if you have a craving and a longing and a yearning for everybody to love you, when you encounter someone who doesn't love you, you'll be frustrated or agitated or annoyed and angry and other discontent feelings. So you need to be able to get to the point where you understand this is normal. But of course, you're practicing the wholesome conduct so that more and more you can see 99.9% of the people in the world do think of you in fond ways, but there's always going to be people who don't think of you in fond ways. And that's part of the way we understand the world is constructed. And it's unfortunate that the world's that way, but that's what people's minds do today with craving, what we call craving, anger, and ignorance. This is the three poisons or the three unwholesome roots. Anything else you guys would like to ask? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expound a little bit on joyful in letting go?
Yeah, so when you're training your mind to practice generosity, oftentimes when you're first starting to do this, it can be hard for the mind to do because you have selfishness, you have craving, and you're not joyful and letting go. It's kind of really tough for you to share that last bite of ice cream in your bowl, right? Or it's very challenging for you to be able to share with the people around you, and the mind's not joyful in letting go. But what the Buddha is guiding you to be able to do is be able to get to the point where you can be joyful in giving and sharing with the people around you. And that's where the mind can be bright and cheerful and uplifted and glad, and you're not holding on to things and you're not disgruntled. So getting back to that example of sending the cookies around the room, if you get that one cookie back and now you're disgruntled, you're not joyful in letting go. But if you come back all the way around and you get that one cookie or even no cookies, you can be joyful. You're like, oh, great, I shared with everybody. Now everybody's getting to enjoy the cookies. That's great. I'm going to go buy myself some more cookies. No big deal. Right now, that's joyful in sharing with others. Mm-hmm. And that's where the mind's not craving and holding on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop class here by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and grow and develop on the path. If you guys would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you guys. This particular class, when I teach it in the evening at 9 p.m., I teach it at home. I cover all 10 chapters because we study 10 chapters a week. But for this particular program, we usually do meditation and we have a lot of other conversation that I'm not able to cover 10 chapters. But there's other other programs that are actually well suited for you. Like tomorrow in the group learning program at 9 a.m., we're going to be doing meditation together. And then I'm going to be teaching chapter 23 out of this book, which is titled Symbolism of the Teachings, Reminders Through Imagery. What I'm going to be doing is helping you to understand some of the artwork and symbolism that the Buddha used during his lifetime in order to be able to share his teachings and remind people of his teachings. And you'll see a lot of this symbolism when you go visit temples around Chiang Mai and other places in the world. And by you understanding this symbolism and this artwork, it'll actually help you to kind of glean more information from visiting the temples. So if you'd like to come tomorrow at either 9 a.m. or 9 p.m., that's what I'm going to be sharing here in the classroom. And then at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow in the main hall, we'll be doing meditation together. And we're going to be doing loving kindness meditation, which is a different type of meditation than we did this morning. Loving kindness meditation is designed to help you eliminate anger, hatred, and ill will, getting that up out of your mind and uprooting it out of your mind. So I'm going to be doing that over in the main hall at 6:30. So if you're coming for the walking market, for shopping, or if you'd like to come for the walking market, you can stop into the temple over there in the main hall, and I'll be guiding students in meditation at 6:30. And then after the meditation, I just kind of talk a little bit and I open up to all the questions that the students might have. So these are some opportunities tomorrow that are coming up. And then on Wednesday here at 9 a.m., I'm also going to be doing loving kindness meditation with students and then opening up to any and all questions that you guys might have. So feel free to look at our bulletin board and our website. You'll see all the events that we have. You're more than welcome to attend any of these. Whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.